I said, I agree. It is highly self-serving. But that is not my motivation as to why I wrote the message. In fact, my motivation is to glorify God and only to glorify God. Whether it's self-serving or not is inconsequential to that. And with that, I think we're going to go to the beginning. The actual beginning. All right? Free will. One of the greatest gifts that God has ever given us. That free will, it led to pride, and that pride then led us to rebellion against authority. Okay? Somewhere along the line, the couple said, we know better. We know better than God. We're the boss. See? That's what happened. The little guys got it right. In their hearts, they determined they were in charge. And I tell you the truth, that every day in America, in the classrooms of America, in the streets of America, in the workplaces of America, even right here, at times, that's exactly what we do. We can't get away from it. It's in our DNA. We say, we're in charge. We know better than the authorities. We've got it all down. And that's kind of what the message is going to be about today. Right? Because there's a problem. There's much more to authority than simply getting what you want and telling people what to do. If that's what all that mattered, then yeah, anybody could be in charge. And they could all just, I like telling people what to do. Not so much about, I don't like being told what to do, but I like telling them. So, this is the title of our message today. Zachanim, their purpose, and the journey. Now, before I get into the bulk of the message, I'd like to give you kind of a side message that you might be thinking, what the heck does that have to do with the zachanim? But you'll see by the time I get to the end of it. I've been mentoring a man for about, I'd say 15 years now. And I didn't disciple this particular man. I wish I had. But over the 15 years, we've had quite a journey together. But we've come to butt heads over the last year, I'd say. He is not part of a faith community. Much like many younger people today, he's turned his back on the faith community, and he's got his reasons why. And we are getting into arguments over and over again of why he needs to be part of the faith community, why he needs to be accountable, etc., etc., etc. Well, he says, I don't need to be, because I myself am a community of one. I said, that defies the definition of community. Then I pointed out that the Torah says, you should make the Shabbat a holy convocation. He gave me some rhetoric about why it didn't apply to him. Then I said, the writers of the book of Romans said, let us not forsake the gathering of ourselves. And once again, he gave me some rhetoric, and then he responded with, you see, I just don't feel the Spirit calling me. I don't feel the unction of the Spirit. I responded back and said, so the black and white print on the pages of the scriptures, they don't mean anything. You have to have an unction of the Spirit to move. This is where the eldership comes in. You see, I believe it's been my observation that that's kind of how many people view zachanim, eldership. That they need zachanim when people are born. They need them when they're going to get married, and they need them when there's a death. But in between those places, sometimes it almost seems like the zachanim are obstacles in the way of what the people want at any given time. And that could be the farthest thing from the truth. We shouldn't have that. That's not what it should be about. You see, this is a very special day. I'm going to take a lot of time talking about zachanim today. Today, we are going to welcome in a new zachanim. Now, I know you guys all saw the message that went out, said that we were going to bring in 2 zachanim today. But unfortunately, Ingrid's not feeling well today, so we're only going to bring in Dave Singer, and we'll do Jared somewhere down the road, because we really want Ingrid to be a part of the synagogue. It just wouldn't be right without her. So the good news is, though, we have one zachanim to bring in. Right? Now, this is a very special day, because all of us should be rejoicing. We should be rejoicing over the fact that a man has ascended into eldership. A man has taken it upon himself to say, I want to be this. I want to do the things that are required to me of God. I want to take the next step into maturity. Rabbi and elder, equal, but not the same. Now, I'm looking at Ron's face there, and he's thinking to himself, equal, but not the same, Tom. Tell me how. Okay. I'll tell you how. The term rabbi, while it's 2,000 years old, right, is a synagogue construct. It is evolved over the years, there's no doubt about that, especially in the last 200 years. But there are scriptural requirements for zachanim, and there are congregational requirements for rabbis. It's an office in which the zachanim and you, the congregants, can place things upon that position that are not required of elders. I'll give you one example. Here at Simchat Israel, we require that a rabbi be Jewish. Not so with elders, though. Within the scriptures, there is no limitation on what an elder can or can't be. So you see that in our local congregation, we have placed a particular guideline on what a rabbi could be and what a rabbi can't be. And there's much more than that, okay? In fact, you could add as many things onto what a rabbi should be as you want to, right? But when it comes to an elder, there are specific guidelines as to what an elder can and cannot be. I put together this little chart, the freedom responsibility chart. And if you notice, the bottom part of the triangle, represents freedom. And the higher you go up in responsibility, the less free you become. It's been my experience that many people over the years have liked the idea of becoming an elder. Right? But they don't want to do the things that they have to do to become an elder. I like the idea of having a swimming pool, okay? But once I got a swimming pool, I'm not so hot on the swimming pool anymore. I don't like taking care of it. I don't like having to close it down. I don't like having to pay the bills for the heater if I was to have it on. Now that pool's been down a long time, but nonetheless, I found out that having a swimming pool was not quite as fun as wanting that swimming pool. Exactly. And that's kind of the way it is with zachanim. It seems like it's really, really cool. I'd like to be a zachanim. I'd like to do that job. But once we begin to realize that the higher you go up that ladder there, the more your freedom is limited.
Shrink.
Give you an example. And this is a fantastic example, right? Because it involves a bunch of congregational leaders. We were at a conference once, and there was a bar in the lobby of this particular hotel where the conference was. And there was some type of baseball game or something going on in the bar. Well, a group of rabbis went in there and they were watching the game, and they ordered up a beer, and in the midst of that, somebody came in, saw it, and made a big stink over the fact that the rabbis are at that bar having a beer. Whether or not you think it's wrong or right at this point is inconsequential. My point being is that the freedom that they once enjoyed, right, was now limited. They could no longer do that in front of certain people because it would cause them to stumble, right? So therefore, they were no longer able to do that. And that's the big thing when it comes to zachanim, that people don't like their freedoms limited. They don't want to have to walk and look around and see who's watching them. And believe me, people watch.
Yes.
Before the scriptures ever came about, we find in historical documents the mention of elders in various communities. In the scriptures, the first mention of an elder is Genesis chapter 15. It has to do with Egyptian elders, not even Jewish elders at this point. Okay? So we know that even before the Jewish people existed, this position of elder was present in various communities throughout the world. There we go. The first time we see it applying, though, to the Jewish community is here in Exodus 3:16 at the burning bush. We actually see, go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them. Moses hasn't even gotten to them yet. Okay? So we see that even when they're in captive, even when they're under the thumb of the Egyptians, the Jews have elders that are over them at that time. Why is it so? Because nobody can function without a guide to where you're going. I don't care who it is. Even a blind person needs a cane to tell them what is in front of them. There's always someone at the head of the ship, or some group at the head of the ship, to tell the rest of the people this is where we're going to go. Because not everybody is going to aspire to that. In fact, if everybody did what was right in their own sight, we would be nothing more than what went on in the book of Judges. We would be a bunch of people all doing what was right in their own sight. And you cannot have communities like that. It's impossible to hold communities together when everybody is doing whatever they want to do as far as they're concerned and calling it right. So, what are zachanim? In the most basic of terms, okay, it is a position that is entrusted to older men. We see it in the Tanakh many, many, many times. Okay? But when we look at it deeper, it also denotes respect, reverence, in some cases, even a political office. So I would imagine that in the days where you had 30 people who lived in any particular town, okay, the men at the gate were zachanim, and they were probably the older men of the town, and they were the most experienced men of the town. Now, granted, most of the time, these people probably didn't live past 50. Right? But, nonetheless, right, that's where the people who were in charge. They had seen enough things. They were wise because they had experienced enough things, and the people could trust them. I don't know how many times I'll talk to my kids about things they should or shouldn't do, and I always go back to, because I've already gone through this. I've already experienced this. Don't do that thing because this will happen to you. Or do that thing and you'll see it will be good for you. Okay? But I'm telling them out of my experience. I'm telling them out of my learning. So, in its most basic form, that's what zachanim are. I have a little side note on the bottom there, and I thought this was kind of interesting because I never thought about this when I was doing my study. Right? The creation of the office of elder is nowhere recorded in the Besorah. Right? Not so in the case of Shamashim and the apostles. Therefore, right, the case of elder is a permanent installation, whether it be in the Tanakh or the Besorah. And the only permanent installation of an office that is found in both books. It's found over 60 times. And once we enter the Besorah, it's actually outlined as to what a zachain should be. That brings us to the gold standard of what a zachain do. There are other places in which they talk about it, but I've chosen this one because I think that I'm sorry.
It's like fine print.
Well, that it is in fine print, but that's why I went to this. Okay? Oh, and that's even worse. I didn't know it would be like that. Okay, so then I'm going to have to actually walk over here and talk to her. I made a little chart, and little being the optimal word, okay? On my computer, it appeared a lot bigger than that. Right? And at the top of the chart, there are 3 columns. The The first two are accusations and qualities of zachanim, and why so? So this text in 1 Timothy starts out telling us that the zachanim must be above reproach, right? And then afterwards, it goes on to state exactly what does it mean by being above reproach. So all those qualifications of eldership, they all go back to that first thing, saying they have to be above reproach. Oh, no, it's gone. We have no charge. All right. So without a charge, we're in big trouble.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Stall.
All right. So anyways, so the first part of being above reproach would have them, this is difficult because now there we go. That's my man. Excellent. All right. There we go. All right. So the first part of being above reproach is that you must be faithful to one wife. So a zachain cannot be married to more than one wife. This does not mean that the zachain can't be divorced. Okay? I don't want anybody to think that that's the case. It's not true if you do enough of a study. Right? And it's plain to see in Scripture that you could be divorced and still be a zachain. So we're not going to go into the details of that. But yes, but he can't have 2 wives or 3 wives. For a man who has 1, it's hard enough with 1. I don't know how you can manage it with 3. All right. Secondly, all right, has to be temperate. The person must not fly off the handle easily. Okay. When you run to the head of the ship and you want to talk to the captain, the last thing you want to see is the captain screaming at you because you ran to the head of the ship to tell them what the problem was. Okay? You have to be even-tempered. You have to be able to handle stuff like that. So a zachain has to be somebody who's mild-mannered. Later on, I'll deal with that as well. Also, they have to be self-controlled and respectable. Okay? This means that an elder shouldn't be involved with things that are seedy. An elder shouldn't be involved in things that are questionable. One time somebody had offered me an opportunity to be part of a liquor store. Right? And giving the example I already gave you, I knew the problems that would come with that. Right? And the people that I might be enabling. And I might be able to justify it, but it wouldn't be what was best for the community, and it wouldn't be a fine example of what a zachain should be, so I passed up the opportunity. Zachain must be hospitable. Right? He has to be open to welcome people. You can't have zachain that hide in a corner when people walk through the door and never talk to them. Zachanim must open their house to people. Zachanim must be, want to know? You should be like Ben Biena. That's what you should be. This congregation was founded on hospitality by Ben and Madeline Biena. They opened their arms to people who walked through the door. Not just some people, all people. That is what a zachain should be. Someone who says, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You're home. Must be able to teach. The man must be able to teach, but he does not have to be a PhD. Okay? It'd be nice if he was a PhD, okay? But that's not what the requirement is. It says he has to be able to teach. He must have control of Scripture. When I turn on the TV set, a lot of times, there are people on that TV set that I would never, ever call as a king, because their teachings are so far away from anything the text of Scripture would say that they can't handle simple text. So how can they qualify to be as a king? Not given to drunkenness. Okay? This is not, I repeat, not an injunction against drinking alcohol. It is an injunction against a man becoming a drunkard. That's what it is. So if you see me lying in the corner with a bottle every week, then you could say, yes, he should no longer be a zachanim. Take my bottle away from you if you see that too. He should be not violent, but gentle. This doesn't mean that the zachanim can't defend himself against aggression. This doesn't mean that the zachanim can't defend others against aggression. What it does mean is that he shouldn't be a violent man who seeks to beat people down, who seeks to destroy people, who seeks to destroy the situation, who seeks to hurt others. In other words, I could change that to maliciousness. A zachanim cannot be a malicious person. The intent of his heart cannot be to harm the other people. The intent of his heart must be to help the other people. Goes on to say that you should not be quarrelsome. We shouldn't be, as zachanim, people who seek to start an argument with our congregants. And I swear to you, if any of you feel that I've ever done that, I apologize. I don't look to start arguments, but at the same time, I and all the rest of the zachanim have a call to set proper theology. We must state proper theology. So that then means I might have to tell you that you're wrong. People don't like that, but it is the call of zachanim to do that. You wouldn't want it any other way. If you saw it going on with somebody else and you saw somebody stating something about Yeshua that was incorrect, you would want me to go there and correct that person. I've even had people call me and say, hey, that's going on over there. Go stop that. They probably should have gone over to stop it, but they wanted me there. So I'm not being quarrelsome. We're not being quarrelsome simply by saying that is wrong. If you see me come over and try to find something that we disagree in and stir the pot, then you know I'm being quarrelsome. That's not quality. Not a lover of money. And that means money's not insecurity. That does not mean the zachanim should like living in a Maytag box underneath the local bridge. Okay? No, everybody needs money to survive. Everybody needs money to pay their bills. Right? But money should not be their security. The zachanim that finds money as their security is the zachanim that does not have God as his security. He must do so in a manner, past one. He must manage his own home and family well. See that his children obey him. He must do so in a manner that is worthy of respect. The reason why? Because if he can't do that in his own home, how can he then look over the family of God? Keeping that in mind, we go on to the next. I'm going to spend some more time commenting on that. He must not be a new believer in Yeshua, because pride would rise up. Look how quickly I ascended. Look how quickly I got my trophy. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders. The zachanim is the face of the congregation. The rabbi, the zachanim, we are the face of the congregation. How we speak, how we dress, how we act in situations outside of here, say everything about all of you in here. And so we become the face of the community. We must be respectable within that community. We have a third column here, and I haven't addressed it yet, but I want to spend some time on that now. Accusations and conflicts between the zachanim and the congregants. And right under that it says, lack of perfection, lack of trust, and self-pride. How many people have heard that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt? It means the longer you know somebody, the more friendlier you get with them, the more you get to see that person. Not only for all the good things they do, but also for their flaws. In other words, you get to peek behind the curtain a little bit and see the humanity of the man. The problem quite often is that instead of seeing the humanity of the man, all we see is the perfection that we require. We don't require that perfection of ourselves, but we would require that of them. And the truth is, there is not one of us in this room that will ever be perfect until we're made perfect by the one who is perfect. One time, there was a couple that was here, and they had Rabbi on a pedestal that was probably like none other. I mean, Moses was here, and the Rabbi was like just under Moses at that point. Right? He couldn't do anything wrong. All he could do is say great things about the Rabbi. And then one day we decided that on Valentine's Day we were going to give roses to the ladies. Right? Boom! Rabbi was no longer on the pedestal. He was basically a heathen at that point, and he fell from being up here to way down over there. That was seen as theological error, never minding the fact that he may know a little bit more than they might know. Never minding the fact that they never even wanted to know why he would do that. Never mind the fact that they just left the congregation after that. Almost maybe that same day. You see, we're back to the garden now. You see, perfection leads to lack of trust, to self-pride. The couple, all right, their pride, said that they knew more than God. Their pride said that they didn't need the authority over them, right? That they themselves were enough of an authority. Right? Then that led them away out of the one who was authoritative over them, and there was disaster by doing so. I thought about giving you an example within our community, and about 8 different possibilities came to mind, but 7 of them either focused on a small group of people or a person, and I didn't want to single anyone out. Instead, I'm going to give you an example that pretty much affected everybody. And perhaps you'll understand what I'm talking about, how these people who left, they didn't even have enough respect to sit down and acknowledge the fact that they did not have the understanding that our rabbi had. They didn't have an understanding that exceeded that of an elementary believer. All they knew was what they had concocted, and they ran off. And that lack of respect sometimes resonates over and over and over within the walls of a community. And I'm going to give you this example. I don't know if I want to call it a lack of respect. I just want you guys to determine what it is. About, I don't know, 2 months ago maybe now, I sent out an email, and I made sure that I didn't send the email out from the whole board. Okay? I didn't want it to be coming down from Mount Sinai. I wanted it to come from one single zachanim. I wanted it to come from me. And I was addressing the issue of coming early. I asked that people show up 15 minutes early. And then I laid out my case as to why I thought that was good. What precipitated this was that the week that I wrote it, there were 8 people in the seats. 3 of them were visitors. There was 5 people up in the music area over there, and the rabbi. Okay? That's all that was here when the service started. And I thought that lateness had become epidemic at that point, and that it was not good for the community, and I laid out why. I said, first of all, if you're running in here at the last minute, even if you're getting here right on time, you have no time to sit down and prepare yourself to worship the living God that we say we're coming here to do so. None. You've just got out of your car from either yelling at your kids or fighting the traffic or whatever else you're doing, and then jumping in here, if you even do jump in here and not hang out in the Oneg room for a little while. I pointed out that what did it say to people who were visiting our congregation if 3/4 of our community was not here on time? How could they think that we were serious about what we say we believe when the appointment that we made with God we can't even keep? I pointed out that I thought this was a fundamental, elementary request, that it's simply getting to a place on time or 15 minutes early. I prefer 15 minutes early. That if we can't do such a fundamental thing, it seems to me that it takes an awful lot of chutzpah to want God to bless us for the more substantive things. I mean, I think all of you would agree in that principle. If we can't do just a simple thing as arriving on time, well then what right do we have to ask that God open up the doors to some miraculous things are ahead of us? Why, he might be doing them, but we won't be here to see them. And in that letter, I used the word plead. I wanted you to get the idea that I, as an elder, was humbling myself before you, that I was pleading with you, not for my own sake, but for our sake, that we would do this thing. The first week after that letter was sent out, maybe 40% of us got here a little early or on time. By the time we had gotten to 4 weeks out, we were right back pretty much to right where we were beforehand. And I wondered, and I still do wonder, I wondered this morning about it. When that email was sent out, how was it received by the people? Did they receive it as, oh, that's just Tom. He wants us to do something, but hey, I need sleep. I need my sleep. Or, maybe I don't like the beginning of the service anyway, so I'll just get there a little bit later. That's just Tom. Did they read it and say, oh, a zachanim is speaking, and we should respond in such that one of the leaders of our community is asking us to do something? Or, what frightens me maybe the worst out of all of it is, did you say to yourself, as a Cain is speaking, who cares? I don't know which one, and to be honest with you,